Nu är vi inte live på Amandas, men den tappade connection.
One day our hands will be strong enough to hold me. I might not be there for all your battles, but you'll win them eventually. I pray that I'm giving you all that matters, so one day you'll say to me, I love my life. I am powerful. I am beautiful. I am free. I love my life. I am wonderful. I am magical. I am me. I love my life.
Det är trevligt.
Är vi live på YouTube nu?
Jag spelar in när de börjar.
Ska jag se sen?
This meeting is being recorded.
Ja, det är bra.
I started to question the ages, and the answer they gave was you. I cannot promise there'll
Vänta lite bara.
be sadness. I wish I could take it from you, but you'll find the courage to face the madness and see it because
Se hur man får till det.
Va?
I love my life. I am powerful. I am beautiful. I am free. I love my life. I am wonderful. I am magical. I am me. I love my life.
Nu. Det kan köra så.
Jag kör det sen.
Ja.
Vad ska jag säga då? Nu får jag med när jag går på. Ska jag skriva det eller varför jag det?
Du kan gå på.
Vad ska jag säga?
Welcome.
Hello everyone and warm welcome to today's presentation. We have Kelly, we have Amanda. I will give the word over to Amanda directly.
Thank you so much, Sophia, for introducing us there. So for all of you that are new and you don't know who Kelly Kirk is, I am so honored. He's like a superhero of mine. This gentleman, my past came from bodybuilding. That's how I ended up finding water, because I got really sick from bodybuilding, actually, because I didn't have a good structure and I didn't know what kind of nutrition to put in my body, and I stressed myself out. And it's because of the hydrogen water, it helped my body get through all the stress. So we have the great honor and privilege today to interview Kelly Kirk, who has just been a staple to the last couple of months for me, watching him on social media. He's an all-natural bodybuilder, so he doesn't take drugs to enhance his life. And that's very unusual. And he is a champion in his division. And so I just can't wait to, first, let's hear your story, Kelly, if you don't mind.
Sure. Thank you. I'm glad to be here. It's been, I don't know, I kind of feel like I'm just scratching the surface with the hydrogen and the company and you and everything that's going on. So I really can't wait to see, where it goes. You talked about water and bodybuilding kind of being how you got into this. And I teach high school. I teach high school nutrition. That's one of my many things that I do. I have about 10 different oars in the water, but the main things are teaching high school. I have a nutrition company where I teach people how to do healthy keto in general. And I have a nonprofit foundation, and they all kind of tie together into what we do here. And when I talk about water in my nutrition class, we have a huge part where we do a water taste test. I'll do 15 bottles of water. We'll do water out of the water fountain and the kids taste it, and we test it for different minerals and everything. And the kids don't get it because I tell them, you know, I grew up in the 80s, and in the 80s, we didn't have bottled water. Nobody walked around.
We lost your sound. We
Uh-oh.
lost up there. You have your
Uh-oh. Is it back?
Huh?
Can you hear? Okay. We drank water, you know, out of the garden hose, or after wrestling or baseball practice. That was pretty much the water that we had. So I think Perrier was the first water that came out, and that was, you know, introduced for businessmen sitting at lunch to be able to have a bottle of water instead of a glass of wine or whatever it was. So we just never really thought about it. I never thought about water. And now fast forward through high school, college, and wrestling, and I started getting into bodybuilding. And like you said, water was such a big, important part of it. But early on in my career, I still didn't really take it that serious. You know, before a workout, before going into the gym, I would drink a Coke and eat a Pop-Tart. You know, that was kind of where my energy would come from, because I didn't know any better, and I just, it didn't matter. You know, I didn't think that it mattered. You know, now I fast forward to now, I've owned a nutrition company, kellykirk.net, for the last 7 years, and we teach people how to do healthy keto. And one of the big things about being in ketosis is your body's not holding on to any glycogen, any carbohydrates. Well, every gram of glycogen holds 3.8 grams of water. So when you remove the glycogen from your system, you remove a lot of the water. So your drinking water becomes extremely important. And that's really where stuff started to change for me. And I went, wow, I've really got to get about a gallon of water is what I get in a day. And that's a lot, but I would flavor it with lemon. I didn't care where it came from. Whatever bottles were here or whatever water fountain, it just never really mattered. But that was really where, you know, it started to change. And then when you start competing and doing bodybuilding competitions, and you really manipulate your water the last 24, 48 hours on how much you drink and how much you don't, and how are you going to not be dehydrated, and, you know, the whole 9 yards. So it's really where I started to kind of get into the science of it. And about 4 or 5 months ago, I guess, I started running into the molecular hydrogen, and a friend of mine had asked me about it. He owned a gym, and had asked me what I thought about it. And I said, it's probably a bunch of bunk. I don't think there's any science to it, you know. I said, I'll look into it and see. And I looked into it, and all of a sudden I found out there's 3,000 studies on molecular hydrogen and all the great stuff it does. And I went, what? I'm wrong on this. Let me find out what's going on. So I kind of did the deep dive and found out all the different stuff that it would do. And so much of it tied into not just your longevity and health, but stuff that was important to me: more energy, you know, your cellular rejuvenation, your immune system. I mean, stuff that as a bodybuilder and a teacher both made a huge difference to me. So I said, well, I need to be part of this. How do I do it? And then I kind of did my deep dive and found who's the best out there. Who tests, who has certifications, you know, if you're going to spend the money, how do you find it? And that's kind of how I ended up here. So it's just funny for me to think about, when I was a teenager, that was the last thing in the world that I thought of, was drinking water. And I look at these kids now, you know, I have 172 students, and most of the kids are drinking water during the day. And even in the last few years, I've seen it progress from a bottle of Dasani to most of them now have at least a thermos or a, what's the brand that everybody wants, of the steel, you know, a steel water bottle, and or at least filling it up at the water fountain or somewhere. So I see it progress, but it kind of boggles my mind on where water has gone from when I was a kid to where it is now, and thinking about where it's going to be over the next couple of years as molecular hydrogen really starts to take off and people start to, you know, believe it and see what it does. So for me, it's been a game changer.
Wow, that's awesome. So I know you just competed not too long ago, and you were talking about, you got nice abs and you got, you know, first in your competition there. Like, how was water and the spray, and how did you use that?
So I'm old. I'm 55. To be competing, is a little bit different than it was when I was 30. So when I first started using the products, I was about 10 weeks out from my competition. And one of the things that I wanted to improve on from the previous year was the skin on my abs tightening up, because when you drop a lot of weight and you're older, you don't have the elasticity in your skin that we did when we were younger. So I started on my regimen with a bottle in the morning when I first wake up, a bottle pre-workout right before I go into the gym for some energy, a bottle after I work out, and then one more when I go to bed. So I'm doing 4 bottles a day, and I'm kind of doing the math on how much hydrogen that is and if it works and all this stuff. And then as I started getting into the competition, the pre-contest, I got the spray, and I started doing research on that. Now, what does hydrogen do for your skin and how does it react? And because the molecule is so small, it's very easily absorbed. It goes right into the skin. There's some research showing that if you, depending on what lotions and stuff you use, they will absorb quicker and easier. So I started spraying every night on my abs, usually in the morning and night, and it dries quickly because the mist is so thin. But I started doing my face and I started doing my abs, and little by little, I started noticing my skin's tightening up. My skin actually looks better. This is good. And one of the things, I won my class at nationals, my lightweight class, and one of the things that the judges' feedback were, and they were judges from the previous 2 years where I took second and third, was that my midsection had tightened up. Your abs really looked a lot better. What did you do different? It's like, that's pretty cool. There's only one thing that I changed. There's only one thing that I did different. And it was drinking the water and spraying the molecular hydrogen, onto my abs made a difference. And then I think I had told you guys a couple of weeks ago, I go to the eye doctor. One of the other things I had been doing is using the goggles. So I go to the eye doctor for my annual checkup. And I should probably be honest, it's been 2 years, not one, because I didn't want to go to the eye doctor. Everybody hates going to any doctors. And I walked in and she goes through and does my exam, and she goes, "Wow, Kelly," she said, "your vision has improved." I said, "What?" She said, "What are you doing different? Your vision has improved by about 50%. And it's fine up close, but I said, "The only thing I'm honestly doing," I said, "is I have goggles that will filter molecular hydrogen into my eyes." And I said, "I don't use it as regular as I probably should," but I said, "at least once a week, twice a week." I said, "Maybe if my eyes bother me, I'll take my contacts out and put them in, and it makes my eyes feel better." And she was like, "Well, I've never heard of that, but usually at your age, your vision's not getting better, it's getting worse. So whatever you're doing," she said, "keep doing it." So it's just neat to me, not just from a bodybuilding standpoint, from a health standpoint. I just keep finding more and more stuff that works. The other thing from the bodybuilding standpoint is, as you know, your diet is so strict and so extreme, and especially on a 16 weeks before a show, you're really limited to what you eat. And I consistently have gut issues, GI issues. So it could be constipation, it could be bloating, it could be diarrhea. I mean, I go through the gamut depending on what my diet is, where it is, and I've never been able to control it. And everybody just kind of chalks it up. As you know, they'll say, "Oh, well, that's just part of the diet, eat more salad." It's just, you have all this and nothing ever works. So when the Hydra FX tablets came out, I was on that just on day one. And literally the very first day, I took one in the morning, I drank my 4 bottles like I standardly do, and another one at night. So the tablets, the science is they will activate in your system a little slower, but stay in your system a little longer. So 6, 8, 12 hours, depending on what you look at. And the bottle is kind of to super saturate. So it'll hit it really quickly, but it also goes in and out quick. And I thought, all right, well, this is the plan that I'll put together. Everything had to be meticulous for me. Literally the first 24 hours that I took the tablets and drank the water with it, my gut issues cleared up. And it has been May, June, July, August, September. We're going on 5 months. I have not had a gut issue of any type in the last 5 months. And the only thing that I can attribute that to is that change in my diet. So just been fantastic for me. And I'm one that it's hard for me to believe that stuff. So every time something good happens, I go, no way, that can't be. And I'll go do the research and pull it up somewhere and go, yep, here's 5 studies that say that that's what it does. So it's been really interesting for me for, you talk about bodybuilding and the drugs and the supplements and all the stuff that, people take and go through. And something as simple as water has made such a difference. Mind-boggling to me, just absolutely mind-boggling to me. My pre-workout is water and probably a tablespoon of pink Himalayan sea salt, and it used to be 400 milligrams of caffeine and all this other stuff that I would take, and sugar, and now it's just pretty simple, and it's just crazy to me.
Yeah, I have a story too about digestive issues. When I was bodybuilding, I was young. I was about 20 years old when I first started the bodybuilding. And little before I didn't feel good at all. It would be a week and a half to 2 weeks before I'd go to the bathroom. And when I did, it would be blood in my stools.
Mm-hmm.
When I was like, I think something's wrong with me. Like, I feel bloated. My back hurts. I think I better go to the doctor. So this is when I started the doctor journey. And they said, well, we probably should get you in for a colonoscopy. I'm like, okay, I need a colonoscopy and I'm 20 years old. This is going to be great. So yeah, they put me under and they went down and comes back and they says, oh, you're fine. You just need stool softeners. You just, you're just constipated. I'm like, okay, is my body deficient of stool softeners or something? Like, I don't know. But they didn't say change your water. But the more research about digestive health, you realize how important it is, especially the, microbiome and how healthy gut. But what I think people don't understand is that you eat food, there's 23 feet or more that it travels through your system. And that whole time, if you're not going to the bathroom once or twice a day minimum, then all that waste in there, it's bacteria, yeast, funguses, they're feeding on it. It's a great food for them. And so then they're consuming this fecal matter, and then out of waste from their body, from your body, leads to diseases of all types. And so, there's so many people that struggle with constipation or irritable bowel syndrome, and they are looking for answers and they go to the doctor and they get put on something that's not good for them. And just simple as water and, the HydroFX supplement. But even if you just did the water, even just did the supplement, because of those bacteria is going to help break down your food to help you eliminate this food. Yeah. So if you want to speak a little bit more on digestive, especially with protein,
Yeah, one of the things that's neat to me, and I tell my students every year, I said, the science is really evolving on the microbiome and gut issues. They are now tying your microbiome to different types of cancer, to any kind of Alzheimer's and dementia. Who in the world would have thought what's going on in your gut is going to affect what happens in your brain 20 or 30 years later? If you had asked somebody that even 5 or 6 years ago, they would have looked at you like you were crazy. And now there's study after study after study where they're really tying the two together. So I tell my students all the time, I say, whatever I tell you now, in 5 years, you're going to go, nah, Mr. Kirk was wrong. It's even more so because it's really just where a lot of the science is in the microbiome and what it's going on. And the nice thing about the hydrogen is, I explained to the kids, you have a probiotic and you have a prebiotic, and the water is actually more of a prebiotic. A probiotic is going to give you lots more army to fight whatever is going on, but everybody's microbiome is different. My microbiome is different from yours and all the way across. So what's good for me might not be good for somebody else. The prebiotic and what the hydrogen does, it actually strengthens your good microbiome, your good bacteria in your gut. So it's like taking your microbiome to the gym. That's what I tell the kids. I said your prebiotic or your probiotic is more dumbbells and more weights, might be good, might be bad, but the prebiotic is actually getting you there. So, it's what you need. So it's really interesting to me. And with the diet, like you said, the amount of protein, that I eat, 1.5 grams per pound of body weight. So I'll on average do 225 grams of protein a day. And I don't do much, I'm usually under 20 grams of carbohydrates because I run keto most of the time. I'll cycle it in and out. But my gut changes continuously because it's a lot of fat that you're taking in, a lot of protein. And then all of a sudden, 3 or 4 weeks, I'll bring in carbohydrates for 2 or 3 days and it changes everything. And it's generally hard for your gut to go, hey, what are you doing? What are you feeding us? But I just don't have those issues anymore. So, I love it. And just to be able to see where it's going to go from here is the best part.
I can remember back when I was doing my bodybuilding competitions and, the last couple of weeks, you really get stressed out and you think, why am I even doing this? And I'm doing my shoulder presses and I'm literally crying. I'm like, I don't even want to do this. Why am I doing this? My body's torn apart. I don't feel good, but I made a committed decision I was going to do it. So I'm going to do it anyways. But I'm just thinking back, because the gut is such an important part of your brain chemistry. Mm-hmm. The brain and the gut communicate, and some things that destroy your good gut bacteria are, well, pharmaceuticals for one, any, poison you're putting in your body, any drug you're putting in your body. But we don't even think about our food, our protein. Where's it coming from? We have antibiotics, we have hormones, we have steroids that are added. Even if you're not taking antibiotics, you are, because if you're eating chicken and beef that's not organic and raised grass-fed, no antibiotics, hormones, you're eating it. And it goes in your gut and it starts killing the beneficial life force in your gut. And then your body can't absorb the serotonin, the dopamine, and all those neurotransmitters that help you feel good. And then you get depressed,
Yep.
So it's a cycle, and it's so simple to just drink water that helps encourage all this growth bacteria in your gut.
It is, and it's tied together. And I try and explain to my students, like I start with, something as basic as water, and then we'll go through the 6 essential nutrients. We'll talk about, carbohydrates, fats, protein, vitamins, minerals, and water. Those are your 6. And I finish with water because that's the most basic, but that's the one that kind of ties everything together after I've talked about it. But like with the protein, and you're talking about the antibiotics and stuff with the meat, I show the kids, videos of how your chicken and how your meat is processed. And I try and eat grass-fed and grass-finished. And the difference with that is the cows are not only, most of the meat that we get in the United States, they are raised on corn, they're raised on grain, they're grain-fed, or they're grass-fed and grain-finished, which means the last 6 months of their life, they stuff them full of corn to fatten them up. Mm-hmm. And again, you end up getting all those antibiotics. Chickens, we talk about chickens, and I show the kids a picture, a chicken from 1950 versus a chicken today. It used to take, I want to say 4.5 months, 5 months for a chicken to reach its maturity, which was like 11 pounds. Now it takes half that time for the chicken to get twice as heavy. And they get so heavy, their legs break. I mean, it's just awful. And they're pumped full of so many chemicals and antibiotics and you name it. And we don't tie all that stuff together. And again, I just go back to the simplicity of this is so easy to be able to teach people and to talk about it and tie it into it. Nobody wants to talk about your expensive, meats or chickens or how much more it costs to get something. It doesn't cost you anything to drink a bottle of water. You do it anyway. Why not do it the right way and change it? And now, all of a sudden, more so, I feel like I'm seeing it in the last couple of months, talking about the microplastics in bottles. And even though that's always been known, seems like they're really starting to delve into that, and you're hearing it more on the news. It's just now becoming more of a thing. So hopefully that's going to grow, even more. I used to walk around with a gallon jug, and now I kind of walk around with this and refill it over and over. So it's different, and it's really neat to kind of see where it's going to go. But this is how much simpler can you get than water?
Right. Well, and let's talk about the quality of water going into the hydration. So obviously it doesn't have a filter. But here in my local area, I was just over there the other day at the water waste treatment plant, and there is so many chemicals in our water supply. There's over 6,000 chemicals. And one of them everyone knows is chlorine, right? You can put little drops, it turns yellow. But when you're drinking chlorine, it's a gas and it kills bacteria. That's what it's meant to do. And so here we are, we're at a restaurant, we're drinking it. We're at our house, we're drinking it. We're showering in it. And it's just doing the same thing to our system. It's killing the good bacteria. So I think the thing is to take home is like the hydro shot's great, but what water are you putting in it? Because
Right.
if you're still buying bottled water, that bottles, like you said, they break down. They're meant to break down. You open the cap, it's biodegradable. It's why it's easy to move the plastic. These ones here, they're hard. They're number 7, they're Triton, so they're not meant to break down. So it's a safe plastic. But when you're putting plastic in here, you know, you're trying to be good for yourself, and at the same time, you're still getting those plastics. So filtering the water beforehand, that's why I love our home unit and our whole house water systems, is some good water first before it goes into here. And then you can have the safety and security knowing that I have good water going in with the added hydrogen benefit.
Right. And I try and be good about cleaning it, you know, once a week. And it's funny because I don't know how much is mental and how much isn't, but as soon as I clean it, that first bottle of water, after I clean it and run a cycle through it, is just, it hits a little bit different. I always tell everybody, and there may or may not be some science behind that, but I'm like, those bubbles look better this time. That pop sounded a little bit stronger. That made me feel a little better. So I always like when I get to do that. But
That's great. So when we're exercising, you probably know, you know way more than me, but I know like with vitamin C as an antioxidant, it can actually slow down your recovery process, because that form of antioxidant will negate the, you know, when you work out, you're creating inflammation, but actually you need that process.
Right.
And C is slowing that down, which is not good because it's recovering. You need to recover. Your body needs to do that. With hydrogen, are you familiar with some studies recently that came out on the?
Yeah, so it actually targets the bad inflammation, which is crazy. When we work out, you know, that sore feeling that we get is not necessarily a bad thing. You don't want that all the time, but that means you have inflammation. You're tearing the muscle down so it can rebuild itself. And now some of the studies are coming out that the molecular hydrogen targets the bad inflammation, not the good inflammation. So that's just completely different, because as you said, you need some of that inflammation for your muscles to be able to tear down and rebuild. Whether you're, you know, everybody's not a bodybuilder, but everybody, it's hard sometimes to get the general public to understand you need muscle. We all need muscle. I just saw a study yesterday, or maybe 2 days ago, that talked about the leading cause of aging, and the biggest thing that makes you age quicker is lack of muscle. After 40 years old, we lose about 1% of muscle every single year. Male, female, 1% of muscle goes away if you don't do anything. So for you to keep a level of muscle mass into your 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, you can grow muscle at 100 years old. Doesn't matter. Everybody thinks that, oh, you can't grow. You absolutely can. You might have to go at it a little bit differently. You're not going to be, you know, lifting heavy, but maybe you can go out and go for a walk or ride your bike or work in the yard or whatever it is. But it's that much more important to do the right things, whether it's the right supplements, the right things to take care of the inflammation, the antioxidation. That's where, you know, stuff really gets important. And again, it's just, you know, the science keeps on changing. If you had said something to me a year ago about, you know, your antioxidants and a work, I would have had no idea kind of where that was going. And to tell me that I could change it with water boggles my mind.
You know, I love the energy that gives me. I can be, you know, oh man, I need to go to bed. I need to take a nap. I'm like, no, I need some hydrogen water, and I drink it. And I'm like, wow, no wonder why. Because in the Krebs cycle, I don't, you know it's you obviously, but when you eat carbohydrates, your body breaks down the carbohydrates into simple sugars in the ATP process and spits off hydrogen using as energy.
Yep.
And so you're literally breaking down carbohydrates and you use the hydrogen as energy. And when we have this going directly in, you have no calories in straight energy. I mean, we can fuel power plants with this. We can fuel cars, buses, trains. Like, yeah, there's a new bike that just came out. It's a hydrogen fueled bike. Like, it fuels our body. We cannot live without it. It's a staple to our health.
And one of the things I tend to be my own guinea pig. Something will come up and I'll go, ooh, wonder if that would work. Let me try this. And one of the things I want to do, you're talking about ATP, or adenosine triphosphate. So that is one of the things that helps your muscles contract. So people take creatine because creatine raises the level of adenosine triphosphate, which in theory will give you, instead of, if you can only do 10 repetitions because you run out of ATP and you take 5 grams of creatine, that'll make you do 11 repetitions or 12 repetitions. So my idea is now, I've been talking about this, is that I take creatine before a workout to raise that.
Oh, you went mute again.
Did it come back?
Yep.
Back. Okay. Is how do you combine the two? And I think that's probably the next part of the guinea pig study that I'll do for myself is try that. And whether I'll mix it together or drink it and then do the creatine, I'm not sure, but that's kind of where I want to go with that, because every time a new study comes out or I read something different, it just kind of gets the wheels turning again. And it's just so simple that it ties into everything, everything that we do. There's so much, a lot of the studies, we tell everybody, oh, you should, you want to take the Hydra FX first thing in the morning or on an empty stomach. But I expect there to be some studies coming out because it does so much with your microbiome. Why not drink it with dinner? If it's going to help your probiotics and prebiotics and help your digestion and help stuff feed through, it also helps the absorption of the vitamins and minerals from the food you're eating. So,
Yes.
that's an important part. So it just keeps getting more and more and more and more. And it's really neat to see, but it keeps changing and I keep learning more and more. And it's neat to watch it become a little bit more mainstream, kind of every single day.
Yeah. And, talking about probiotics, prebiotics, enzymes, you have to have enzymes in your body or enzymes in your food to break down your protein. Has been shown to help the enzymes activate the enzymes as well. So it's like your body is going to get full digestion and utilization, and nutrient utilization is more important than nutrient consumption. Just because you put it in doesn't mean it's going to your bicep,
Right.
But if you have something in your body, it's going to help you take that protein and turn it into muscle tissue or turn it into whatever tissue that you're looking for there, brain health, whatever.
Yeah.
It's going to be a benefit.
And one of the things I tell people, because everybody always asks me, oh, does that work? Is it true? Is it real? And, I tell everybody, it's not magic. It's not gonna, I say this, it fixed my gut in 24 hours. So I sit here and tell people, oh, it's not magic. Magically, it fixed my digestion issues 24 hours. So I kind of contradict myself, but literally my thought is, when you're looking at this and we're all looking at, a long life and being healthy and taking care of ourselves, that's a process. It's not a 1-day fix or a 1-week fix. It's how does it affect you over time? So when you're looking at something like this and you're looking at the molecular hydrogen, as tiny as this smallest molecule is, it's not an instant fix for everything. But when you look at, I've been doing it for 5 or 6 months and I feel better and I have more energy and my gut's better, my immune system's better. I mean, just all of this. What about 2 years down the road that I've quit drinking the crap that I was drinking and I'm not getting the microplastics? Just what's that going to make me feel like? And I feel like all of us, if we even looked at it as just an improvement of 1%, that 1% every single day, the law of 1% every single day, 1%, 1%, you get a year down the road, it's made a huge, huge, huge difference in you. So, and especially like with the bodybuilding level, you're always looking for that tiny advantage. It doesn't have to be something huge. That one little tiny advantage, fixing the skin on my stomach, that's a tiny thing compared to, you need bigger biceps. I needed tighter skin. And that little bit is one of the things that kind of turned the tide and got me a championship. So I look at that with my immune system.
Oh, you went mute again.
Is just, it's such a small thing, but over time, it's going to lead to, bigger things. And I really can't wait to see where we're at, a year from now.
Yeah. One thing I think is so fascinating. It's like when you take a multivitamin, you might not notice, oh, wow, look at this. I feel better. But you take it because it's good for you. Right. Yeah. And this molecular hydrogen has been proven safe and effective in 170 different disease models. We're talking about diabetes, cancer, heart disease, arthritis. 170 is a lot. Yeah. So if I had diabetes and I go to my doctor is going to give me a pill for diabetes. That's one pill for one thing. You can literally have this. It's helping 170 different things from if you have it now, and it's helping to prevent from any future. It's the smartest thing that you can do for your health every day.
And that one pill is probably causing other issues that are going to cause you to need another pill and another pill and another pill.
Liver and your kidneys and
Yeah.
your brain and yeah.
And I do a big section in my nutrition class talking about nutrition versus medicine, and I try and tell the kids it's not that doctors are bad or doctors, but you can graduate from Harvard Medical with an MD and you have had 3 hours of nutrition. It's not their fault. It's what the industry is, and it's you have pharmaceutical companies that are paying to build universities and build hospitals and paying for all this stuff. And the doctors have a lot on their plate. So for a doctor to say, I'm going to, an MD.
You're muted again.
It probably isn't going to happen.
Yeah,
Did it come back? Okay.
Yeah.
It's just, your doctors don't have that knowledge. So it's great to be able to find a group like this. And today the Molecular Hydrogen Institute, Tyler's starts today. They have speakers and studies and doctors. And I can't wait to be able to delve into all that stuff. But it's just a different ball game. And like you said, little by little, it's making a big difference.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Great. Well, I'm not sure if we have, maybe some of the audience has some questions. I know we are broadcasting this on Facebook and YouTube, and we also have it here on Zoom. So maybe the participants here in Zoom, if you've got some questions for Kelly, just type them in the chat bot there, and then we'll get to those. Or anyone on the social media platforms, if you've got questions. A lot of questions come from, why is the Hydra Shot different than the other ones on Amazon? Well, we have certifications for one, but we've tested them. We've actually taken the ones on Amazon and we've run them over and over and over again over 100 hours. Most of them didn't make 100 hours, almost all of them. But then we took the water and sent it to the lab and they found heavy metals in the water. And so I'm telling us this because here's what's happening. People are coming to these presentations, they're seeing this information, and then they're trying to save a buck.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have brain cancer, you're not going to go look for the cheapest doctor to help you with your brain cancer. You're going to look for the best. And so people are compromising the price for their health. And now they're going and buying these cheap products that are $50, $80, and they don't work. They don't even produce hydrogen, most of them. They have bubbles. Are they really producing the hydrogen? There's no testing. They don't know what they're doing. And so I think that's a really important thing to know, is that we test our products and we stand behind them. If there's a customer that says, hey, I don't think well, let's check it out, send it back and we'll check it out. We usually find that it's just needing to be clean, but we still want to make sure that our customers are being taken care of and they're getting a quality product that's going to last and it's going to help them with their health.
So along those lines, the general manager of my gym, like I said, I carry this in every day. And before I start my workout, I sit down and I tie my shoes and kind of get my head right. And I hit the button and I make sure I set it down so everybody in the gym sees the lights and the bubbles, right? The general manager came over and asked me a few weeks ago. And I told him what it was. And, I got to get that. I'm all about it. I gave him my link. Came back, saw him a couple of days later. He's like, I got my bottle. It's coming. And I said, oh, good. I said, I can't wait till you get it. I didn't order it from there. I got it online. What'd you get? Some brand off of Amazon. I said, well, when you get it, let me know. I said, I didn't badmouth him. I said, we'll have to test it. I said, I have some blue drops that you can test it and see what it was. I'll bring mine in and we'll do it side by side. And we did it last week and I got 73 drops. So almost 7.5 parts per million. It was great. And his took, I think, 15. So literally not even, the recommended amount that you would want. And you'd have to drink 1,000 bottles of that to be able to get, any kind of a benefit. And the disappointment, how do you tell somebody you have to pay for quality? Yes. And I think, hopefully people will start to realize that. But I think the more studies that come out, the more people start to look at this as something, because people that when it comes to people's health, people will spend money on their health when it's something they know and they truly believe in and they understand. When something's new, and I know it's not brand new, but it's starting to get into the mainstream now. And I think, people are going to kind of start to change that a little bit and go, I need to pay for quality. That's what I hope.
Yeah. Buyer beware. We've got people now online that are the healthy hydration. And this woman called the other day and she's like, I ordered the black and you sent me a blue. I was like, we don't even have a blue, you know? And then she's like, and I don't, there's no instructions in the box. And it's like, there's now knockoff brands coming out that look like our bottles that are not our bottles. Cause you got to have the quality components inside. Just because it looks like our bottle doesn't mean it's a bottle. And so
imitation is the greatest form of flattery. So at least, you're doing something right, that everybody wants to be like us. So
we do. Yep. So buyer beware. We just educated you. Don't go online and buy anything else but our product, because we're here to serve you and we want to help you. Awesome. Do we have any questions in the chat? Anyone wanted to raise their hand there? No questions, huh?
I know
You touched on this, Kelly, but how do you manage your hydration levels during your heavy training sessions?
Generally, I try and do a gallon a day off season when I'm just kind of normal life, but still working out. And the gallon doesn't all obviously, come from this. Like I said, I'll do a bottle in the morning. Generally, probably a bottle 11 o'clock-ish in the morning when I'm kind of in between classes and the kids are getting to me and I'm tired and I need a little boost. And then I'll do another one pre-workout for the energy, one post-workout for the inflammation, and then one before I go to bed. So that's probably 50 ounces, that I get from this. And the rest of it will just come from my gallon water that I'll carry with me. I have a gallon metal container and I carry that around and try and get that in. Now, when you get to pre-contest, and I'm in a deeper level of ketosis where you're not retaining water, my thirst goes through the roof. So I really try and up it a little bit from there. But it's one of those where, talking about your source and where your water comes from, I never would have cared a year ago. And now I stress over it. Oh my goodness. Wow. I got to have water. Is it better to have no water, or is it better to drink it out of the fountain where I know it's got fluoride and chlorine and Lord knows what else is in it? Is it better to buy this bottle of water over here? And, when I do the taste tests with the kids, they will line up 15 different types of bottled water, and I get it from all over the world. I get different types of water, cans of water, and they taste it and we test it. And the two types of water that they can always tell is the water from the water fountain here at school. They know that every time because it tastes completely different and not good. And it's not because the water coming in, but maybe it sits in the pipes here. I mean, who knows? The school's 40 years old. I don't know, but it always tastes different and it has a different smell. And in the county that I'm in, they do add fluoride and chlorine. Those are the two things that are added, in this county. And the other is Fiji water coming from Volcano, and just the minerals that are in that are heavier minerals, and a little bit different. So I kind of go round and round. My big thing with that is it's still in plastic. So how long did it sit in the warehouse? How long did it sit in a 100-degree 18-wheeler when it was being delivered? The water might be great coming from a glacier. It was pure, but by the time it gets to us in this plastic bottle for how long? 6 months, 8 months? I mean, who knows how long? So it's funny to me that I stress over where it comes from now, and I never would have thought about that before.
One of my things I will be doing here in the future is I would love to go travel to these bottled manufacturers' warehouse where they're getting the water. I've seen videos, and what they're doing is they're going to rural areas, especially in California. They're pumping out the water from these areas. Then it goes back into a truck, and then it goes to their facility where they're getting it ready, and then they reverse osmosis the water, and then they clean it, and then they put it in the bottle. But before they put it in the bottle, they steam the bottle with really hot water to kill any bacteria. So now it's even encouraging it to break down the plastic even more. And so Fiji, let's think about that. Okay, you can not drink water out of this Fiji area which has not been sanitized. There's bacteria in the water. They're going to have to clean it. They're going to have to filter it. So they're doing the same exact thing.
Yep.
Putting it in a bottle, and then it's going on a boat to here, which takes how long? And then it's sitting outside Costco where, I feel it is a very big market for one.
Oh, huge.
How many $34 billion market I think bottled water is. And it's probably one of the biggest scams out there. Really,
And
it's
I
just
explained to the kids, and you were talking about in your video the other day, if bottled water is tested once a year, that's literally the only requirement is that they send a batch and the bottled water is tested once a year. That's why you end up with bottled water recalls from time to time, because somebody will get sick, there'll be something in it. Whereas the water out of your tap is tested 15 times a day. Literally, it's continuously, being cycled through and tested. And again, you have the issue of what are they adding to it? But if you filter it, you're good to go. It's just the marketing behind it is amazing. And when you look at, even from an environmental stance, the number of bottled water, I get it when I teach it, but it'll circle the globe in 1 year. We go through enough plastic water bottles to circle the globe something like 20 times or some crazy amount like that. Like, it's just, amazing what goes into this plastic, and it doesn't get recycled. It doesn't get reused. It's just horrible for 1,000 reasons.
Yeah, it's like if you do recycle, it's actually part of the problem.
Mm-hmm.
The US, because in 2018, China actually banned us from purchasing it. They would purchase our bottles and recycle it. And now they won't, because it's cheaper for them to just make brand new bottles and buy and recycle. So now we're just filling our landfills with all this toxicity. It's going to our oceans. And now we've got 3 feet the size of Texas there floating in the Pacific Ocean of plastic, and the fish are eating it, part of the food chain. It's just a detrimental thing to our health. And people don't realize they're spending at least $150 a month to drink it.
Yeah. That's the other thing, is how much it actually, costs to do that. And like I said, when I was growing up, there was no such thing as water bottles, and that blows the kids away now when I tell them this, because they've grown up and were given a water bottle when they were 4 years old. As soon as they got done with their bottle or sippy cup, mom gives them a bottle of water, and we've all seen it or done it. So it's neat to see that it's kind of coming to light that that's not the best thing in the world to do now. I see somebody asked if I had missed any days of taking the Hydra FX, and if I have I noticed a difference? Yes. I had 2 days on a weekend where I didn't take them and didn't have it with me, and I was out of town, and it was mostly just a bloating feeling, nothing major, but in 2 days of it, I missed it. So now it's part of my regular routine. So I make sure I don't.
And you probably didn't realize that you were bloated before, but once you feel good, it's hard to know what you felt like and you felt bad,
Yep.
I get a kick out of it too. Oh, I feel really great. I was like, oh, you don't know how you feel until you feel good. You just think
And again, it's one of those 1% things. I've been doing it for 4 or 5 months. So what has it done to my system, and what has it changed? What is what is normal now is 5 notches up, 10 notches up, 100 notches up from what was normal 5 or 6 months ago. And you don't realize it because it's not that big, but when I tell people about like energy it gives you, I said, it's not like you're going to drink a Monster energy drink and all of a sudden you just got 500 milligrams of caffeine. It's not that type of energy. It's a sustained type of energy. You don't have this, going on with keto. It's kind of the same thing. I tell people, without the glycogen, if you're running on ketones, it's you have this the full day. You don't have that peak at 3 o'clock and then you crash afterwards. The molecular hydrogen is a lot of the same way. It's a very steady energy, as opposed to I drink it and you're bouncing off the walls. It's not like that. But
and think about that until you said something, but people that go from a carbohydrate based diet to a ketogenic diet, there is a process in there your body has to go through to, okay, I stop using carbohydrates for energy for my brain. Now I got to use fat for my brain. Now I'm going to feel like, Amanda, where are you at here? Knock, knock, knock. How is the hydrogen helping? It's able to give you that cognitive function. So I'd imagine like anyone on keto would be like, this is the number one staple right here, is you got to have this if you want your brain to work.
Yeah. And I've always pushed. So when I first started talking about keto 5 or 6 years ago, nobody really knew the ins and outs. And the big thing was keto flu. Nobody wanted to do it because 2 or 3 days into it, you would get keto flu. You get tired, you get a headache. Well, now we know better. Keto flu is electrolytes. It's your sodium, potassium, magnesium, and maybe calcium, but definitely sodium, potassium, and magnesium every time. So it's because you're not holding glycogen, and every glycogen holds almost 4 grams of water. You're depleted of water. You're also depleted of your minerals. So now I push, the molecular hydrogen, because if you're going to not only take the electrolytes, you need something that's going to help you absorb them. You need something that's going to help you utilize them. As you said earlier, it's not just what you take, it's or how much you take, it's being able to actually have your body utilize it. So huge part of that for anybody that's on a low carbohydrate diet.
That's great. Yeah. And, you know, we do have the home model too. And we have our affiliate bundle pack right now. It's on special. We're doing some promotions this month and the next 3 months with momentum building for Christmas. But you can get the home model, which produces water for your whole family, you know, not only for you, but for your whole family. And it's a lower level of hydrogen, which is now the studies are suggesting that if you have lower level and then you super saturate a couple times a day with this, it's able to protect your body. Then if you have it coming with the Hydro FX, it's able to sustain you as well, longer amounts of time. So, I mean, I think it's important to think about that too, is just the Hydrohomium is so great because it has the filtration system in there. And it has that ozone water too to wash your fruits and vegetables and help get those contaminants off of them. You know, we don't see them, and just because we can't see them doesn't mean it's not there. So,
Yep.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, we'll take maybe 1 or 2 last questions if there is some, and then I think we'll let you go, Kelly. Thank you so much. Is there any other questions? No. Top 2 reasons why you want hydrogen as a bodybuilder. Take it away, Kelly.
I would say gut health and cellular regeneration, probably those 2, whether it's from a cellular gut health, absolutely, because your diet is so strict. And so Kelly, Kelly, somebody just asked how my first name is spelled, Kelly. My diet is so strict. So any kind of gut health is probably the number 1 reason. And number 2 would be, like you said, from an inflammation standpoint, cellular regeneration, your energy, your recuperation, really kind of all of that. It's just become a staple now.
That's great. And how can people get a hold of you? And did you want to talk about your foundation at all?
Yeah. So I own and am the founder of 222 Muscle, the Sophia Graham Foundation. My fiance was a bodybuilder and she passed away 3 years ago. So I started a 501c3 nonprofit mental health organization in her honor. And what we do is we raise money and provide gym memberships, training, nutrition to anybody that has gone through a trauma or a tragedy where that might be something that changes their lives and or saves their lives. And we are the only mental health nonprofit in the country that focuses on mental health through physical strength. And that physical strength doesn't necessarily have to mean you have big biceps or strong legs. It's your physical health overall, which is where this, kind of ties into it. So if anybody, to be able to get in touch with me would be go to the sophiagrahamfoundation.org. And that's where I kind of run everything through there. But we talk about nutrition, we talk about the water, we talk about mental health. I'm lucky in the sense that all of the ores that I have in the water all kind of tie together as one, and that's the logo if anybody's kind of looking for it online. But sophiagrahamfoundation.org or on Facebook or Instagram, either one. I'm all over social media.
So if someone's looking to transform their life, do you actually do nutrition counseling? Do you make programs for people?
Yeah, so I do nutrition counseling and help set up. What I actually try and do is not where a lot of nutritionists, they want you to come in and be a client forever. I want to teach you how to do healthy keto and not need me in a month or 2 months. Like I want to teach you what you need to know and have you go off on your own. Now that doesn't mean you might not call me back in a couple months and go, hey, what about this or what about that? But it's not something where I want to do, meal plans for you for the next 2 years. Nobody wants that. I want to teach you how to do it and what the science and the reasons are behind it so you can go off and kind of do it on your own. So I do a lot of that.
Exceptional. Awesome. All right. Well, we're going to close it out here and just give a big thanks to Kelly Kirk here and wish him all the best of everything with his upcoming contest next year and everything he's doing. We really, really, really appreciate you so much.
Thank you. And I'm putting the link to the foundation in the chat. Somebody had just asked there. sophiagrahamfoundation.org. There you go. Thank you very much. I'm excited to be part of it and excited to kind of see where all this goes, and really, like I said, how it kind of continues to transform me and where I'm at. But it's definitely a huge part of my life now.
Yay. Awesome. Awesome. It's a staple to success for sure. All right, team. Well, we will see you on next week on our Zoom. Bye. for
Thank you.
now.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Vill du säga något, Kelly? Han är här.
Du har spelat in fortfarande. Jag måste stänga liven.
Nej,
Han gick nu.